Alright mates, how's everyone doing today? Welcome to another video. If you're enjoying these videos, please drop me a subscribe and a like. And if you find them helpful, tell your friends, share around your kingdom. If you're getting some information out of this, chances are they will too. So, spread the word. Thank you very much. With that being said, let's talk about today's video, which is going to be on the armament system. Now, the armament system, this is going to be a big video. Because there's quite a lot to cover, and I kind of want to touch on everything because lots of people know some but not everything, and there's lots of wee bits of information hidden around. So use the timestamps to go to bits that you're specifically interested in, or watch the full video. It's up to you. But the armament system is something that comes into the game when you finish KVK 1, and it just kind of drops in, and there's not too much information for really like general purpose stuff. Specializations on like what armaments are best and everything, sure, but the system itself is what I want to give an overview on today. For example, you can view your pity, you can view your reroll pity, you can view lots of different stuff that's kind of hidden away. It's not too easy to find, so I want to draw attention to that today. So let's see, what are we going to talk about? So when you leave KVK 1, first thing that happens is you get the state form. So the state form just appears in your city, and you're wondering to yourself, what's that? So let's talk about this part for you guys who are just new to the game and are just getting this thing, and you're wondering, what do I do? So the state form is a building that goes up to level 25. It is upgraded using a resource called Sage's Testimony. It is like the Books of the Covenant, the arrow. You can buy it for 10 gems, and it'll be what time gates you for upgrading your stuff. Now, as you can see here, if you come in, you hit information, every level gives you a different benefit, okay? And when you first get this building, what you upgrade it to is literally going to be dependent on your spend level. So, for example, everybody wants to really rush level 16. Level 16 is a great stopping point. It gives you dispatches, gives you 16 travels per day, 5 dispatches, and a major dispatch. A major dispatch is where you get a legendary armament with possibly an inscription. We'll go into that later. So if you do decide that you're going for level 16, it'll cost you around 11,000 gems. So you might want to plan for that. Again, obviously, you can just run it up normally. I'll show you the sources of the testimonies if you're not gemming it in a minute, but 11k gems for a low spender. If you're a mid spender, you would want to take this to around level 21. Now, level 21 gives you 2 more daily chances, and pardon me, 2 more daily chances and 2 more dispatch chances with a higher percent chance of a major dispatch. So 21 is your stopping point for a mid spender. That will set you back around 44,000 gems. Of course, there's more to go. If you're a high spender, your stopping point should be around level 23. It's a good stopping point. 19 and 8, 7%. That'll be about 81,000 gems. And if you're a whale and you have more gems and money than sense, then level 25, as soon as it opens, will set you around 200, just under 200,000 gems. So that is your upgrade order. Now, as you play the game, you will send out dispatches, right? So there's multiple ways of getting these testimonies by just playing the game, and one of them is sending out the dispatches and travels. So this here is the travel. Let's talk about the travel. So in the travel system, the first thing you're going to want to do is set your preferred formations. Your preferred formations will dictate what armaments, what formations you get your armaments for, okay? Now, the way the game is now, you're probably looking at Wedge, Delta, and Pincer as the 3 main formations. I have Arch right now. That's a personal reason for pity, but I'll explain that later. I will run through each of these formations quickly. I'm not going to go into depth because this is a systems overview, not a formation, an armament guide per se. But your meta formations right now are Pincer, which is smite damage, Delta for combo damage, and right now at the time of recording, skill damage. Now the developers have promised to bring out regular updates of new formations multiple times per year. So you would expect this to be replaced next with a skill damage, because that is the oldest one. Honourable mentions are the V formation, which is if you use range. This is how you switch yourself into a tower, so you might want to bring that into consideration. In addition, line formation is also useful for farming marches and gathering, however should not be a priority over fighting effective marches. This is what you would pick on your farm. Triple line formation for march speed, has niche cases for like Arc Osiris and just want to go faster. You can really ignore the rest. Tercio is for city defense, but if you're watching this and you're just in KVK 1 or 2, probably not something you want to consider right now. Okay, so you've set your preferred formations, and you can spend action points to send out a travel. Okay, as you send out the travels, there'll be a auto travel thing. You can click it, it'll give you a list of all your armaments that you have, you get, and then you have the option to go for gems up to 120 times. I normally send 3 of these. The gem cost goes up each time. For example, for science, this is an armament going out. You can skip this here. It gives me a purple armament with an inscription. It auto recycles, which I will show in a second. And now my gem count has went up to 200. Okay. As you travel, your luck will go up, and for it, as it says here, quite self-explanatory. Every 10 points of luck, your windfall goes up by 0.13. Windfall is the chance to get an extra armament, a transmutation stone. Does it show it? Yeah, there you go. Windfall reward. So the more you do it, and then the incentive there is if you're like more money in gems and cents, you would gem it to get it faster. Realistically, not really worth the value. You shouldn't really be doing this. I only do the first ones because it's 50, 100, 150 gems. I don't mind that I have the extra gems to spend. Okay, let's talk about auto recycle. So auto recycle is basically if you, as your collection of armaments progress, you want to blue armaments no longer are of value to you, so you would tick this box, and whenever you get a blue armament, it will turn it into silver coins. Okay, we'll go over recycling in a wee minute. But basically that's what that is. Now you can do a blue, you could do it like this, and it would be only blues with no inscription, and then you get to the point where you don't want any inscribed blues, so you would do blues with one inscription or no. And then when you don't need purples anymore, like myself, you would just do all purples, all blues that come, automatically recycles, and it keeps your bag clean, saves you the effort. Okay, so that's travels. Oh, on the other note, when you pick on the left hand side, it will have epoch command makers. These are like flavor of the day. It says in the bottom, travel with an epoch maker to increase your luck chance. So if you travel with Salsal, for example, you lose the bonus on your luck, so you should always try and pick the recommended commanders, whatever you have available. I've messed it up, so yeah, on the left. So the next thing to talk about is dispatches. So you seen when we were running this up, you got travels and dispatches. This last button here is dispatches. Again, preferred formations, and it's literally just the same idea as travels, although you can see the reward, and when you click it, you put in a team that has it has to hit the requirements of what it says here. So 4 level 10 plus commanders, 2 of them need to be expertise and 1 needs to be cav. Basically, I just click auto team up, it'll pick the team for me, and you dispatch it. They have added a button down the bottom that's not here because I've done it, and it's auto dispatch them all basically, and it'll just populate what you have depending on your commanders. And send it off. It's worth noting, if you scroll down to the bottom of this list, if you're not level 25, it will have Sage's testimonies, and you can send out specifically for that if you're wanting to upgrade your state form some more. When you do 15, you'll get a chance to pick accommodation, which will give you like one of these things here, which again goes to preferred formations, or I think it's 150 testimonies it can be as well, which can be a bit of a windfall. Equally, on the travels that I just showed you a minute ago, can also give the resource to upgrade the state form, the stages testimony. Okay, so that's how you get armaments. Let's talk about what an armament is. Okay, so when you come into a commander and you've just unlocked this, you will get, let's find somebody that doesn't have anything, you will get a wee box at the bottom. Okay, You click on this commander and it asks you to pick your formation, okay? So let's say, for example, because he's healing, I pick circle. Let's not actually, let's pick wedge because it's more universal. I pick wedge, that formation is now selected. It has 4 components to the formation, and these are the armaments. You have the scroll slot in the top left, the instrument slot in the top right, the bottom right is the flag, and the bottom left is the emblem, okay? Each one of these armaments can come in 3 tiers. They can come in the legendary, purple, they can come in epic, and they can come in blue elite, which I don't actually have any of them for this guy. So I will come out and show you the blue in a minute, but it doesn't really matter. The point is the blue can come. Each one has a max stat roll different of the other. Blue can max stat roll 2%. Purple can max stat roll 2.5%, and the epic one on the attribute can max roll 3.5%. Okay, so that's the basic overview of the armament. And each armament on top of that, now this is, I know it sounds complicated. When I show you the overview stuff here, it'll make a bit more sense, but each armament can also have an inscription, and an inscription is this box at the top. Okay, so let's go into my armament tab and look at them as a whole, right? So you're collecting all these armaments and they're going into your bag under the armament tab. Okay, when you get them at the start, you're just looking for the best stats. Don't worry so much about these inscriptions. I'm about to talk about the inscriptions and how to identify good inscriptions. But at the start, you're just putting anything you put on your commander as an increase on nothing, okay? So at the start, you just put on anything and save absolutely everything. Once you have started building a collection, you're going to want to start looking at recycling. So I'll go over the process of recycling before I go into more on the armaments, okay? So recycling is effectively, you just click the recycle button and it'll bring up this menu. And you can go through using the filter menus or whatever and pick what you want to recycle. And it'll select the recycle and it'll turn them into these 2 coins. You have the basic coin, the silver coin, and the more premium coin, which is a gold coin. The premium one comes from legendary, and the silver comes from blue and purple armaments. Okay, when you auto recycle in the travels, this is the coins it's generating. It will never auto recycle the legendaries, only the blues and purples. Okay, so this is how you get the coins. Now let's talk about, we'll come back to how we spend the coins. Let's talk more about the slots that we were talking about earlier on the commander. Okay, so we'll come back to this, and you have the scroll on the top left, the instrument, the flag, and the emblem. The scroll and the flag can be inscribed with your own inscription. Okay, now an inscription is how would you say, it's like an ability, it's like an extra stat that comes on top. So you can get some with no inscriptions, and then you can get some with rare inscriptions or special inscriptions. Okay, there's a way to tell the tier list. I'll explain in a wee second, but basically every inscription is different. Actually, let's look at the codex here. Okay, we're looking at wedge. This is the scroll. Here is all the inscriptions you get. So I'll just go back and say, there you go, codex down the bottom. You click that and it shows you everything. So you want to see what's available for that slot. This is it. Okay, now each one of these has, it's very overwhelming when you first get in the game. You will get used to it, especially with the resources that I'm going to give in this video that'll help with this. But basically each one of these are not all created equal. So special inscriptions are almost always better than the rest. Rares are almost always better than the regulars. And then regulars have power tier, where things like attack is less value than the health. However, you can roll a double inscription, which will give you 2 whites. And if you have something like attack, health, and defense as a double, it could potentially be more valuable than a rare or even a special. Okay, mind melting stuff, right? So how can we identify inscription? So the best place to for me anyway, to recommend is a Discord server called Kinds Codex. They have a channel, which I will bring up here to show everybody. If you look here, this is the Kinds Codex Discord. And when you join this Discord, I'll put the link in the description because this place is really good for information. When you come into the Discord and you get your roles and everything, you'll see a channel called Inscription Tiers down here, okay? You click on Inscription Tiers and it brings you to this window. Now, this basically tells you what inscription is better than the others. So if you're sitting there for your scroll slot and you have 10 different inscriptions, then you pick your wedge, right? Because we're using wedge as an example. And this is the scroll. So it says here wedge, scroll 1, and it has tiers. So it's saying tier S is hunter, and then furious, robust, and ward are also S tier. Okay, so if we come back to the game here, we can see that hunter was S tier, and it was furious, which is this one, is saying is also equal to, well, it's less valuable but still very valuable. And then after furious comes robust, which is the health that we talked about, and after robust was ward, and ward is here. Okay, now the point here is this lets you identify, because you'll be getting inscriptions all over the place, this lets you identify what is worth rerolling. Now, rerolling is another mechanic we're about to get into, but the gist of it is you don't want to waste your resources for rerolling. You only want to reroll stuff that's good. So this is to teach you how to identify what is worth keeping. Now, obviously, everybody would want a hunter and all special inscriptions, but the way this system works is a lottery. It doesn't work like that. If you wanted to see the next, which would be the instrument, then here's the instrument, and you just click next. And again, the tiers. If you have Annexer or Fine Horse, you basically just want to recycle that. It's not going to be worth your time. Okay. If you have a double and you get, like, for example, Fit and Respite, it's probably going to be better than Boiling Blood and potentially better than Unstoppable. So it's something to consider. And then again, the same principle for your flag and your emblem, and it applies to any formation you want. You can come in here, and this is how you check. You're wondering to yourself, is this better than this? Is this better than this? This is how you check. You can come in here yourself and you can check. They also have a channel to ask questions. People ask questions all the time about armaments and stuff. You can ask in here. You can ask in my comments. You can ask me. It's no problem. Is this better than this? A lot of it's subjective to people's opinions, but this stuff here is done by the numbers, the maths, right? So yeah, and then you get V formation, all your formations, and that's how I would identify the inscription type. Okay, so that's the Discord, that's inscriptions. One other thing that's worth noting is, remember when I said about what is the scroll instrument flag? Now, the scroll and the flag, you can actually get inscriptions to inscribe yourself. And the sources of these are through KVK. When you come into the KVK shop, at the end of KVK, you can get what's called an Autarch. And this is how you get special inscription at the end. So you buy this, and you can use it on an armament. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because if you get an armament in the scroll or the flag slot, and it doesn't have an inscription, but it has good stats, it is still very much worth keeping. Because one day you will get one of these, and you can stick it on, and then straight away you have something with very good stats, and it has an inscription. Okay, so let's segue into the stats part, because what is the stats? What's good stats, right? Let's talk about the stats on an armament. So you come into an armament, and you come into the window here, right? Now, the first thing to note is when you get something that's good. Now, this isn't amazing. Okay, let's. This is a double inscription, for example, right? So I have locked this. So once you lock it, you can't recycle it. Okay. So whenever you get anything at the start, for example, that has an inscription or has 3 stats of the same, you want to lock that because you really don't want to accidentally destroy an armament. Okay. When you get this, you get the inscription. You've looked it up in Codex, and you've seen that Phalanx and Furious, for example, is very strong, okay? And you say, wow, that's really good, but this is for archers, cavs, and siege. That's not very good. How do I fix that? So what you can do is you can transmute. Now, this is where we come into the stats. Each armament has 3 stat windows, right? You can have the top window, which can roll, if you look at the question mark, it can roll cav, infantry, and archer attack, gold gathering speed, and siege unit attack, okay? And it is very much a lottery, okay? When you look at the second window, it is defense for each of the 3 troop types, 4 troop types, and troop load. And when you look at the last window, it is all the same for health. It also has all damage reductions against barbarians, and damage to barbarians. Okay, so you want to get something that looks, if you want, yeah. So just use this for example. This is pulverized. This is rated as an S tier on the codex. It's very strong. It's not a special, but it's still good. And as you can see here, I have rerolled this, and I've got 3%, 2.7 and 2.5% on the stats. Okay, so that's how the stats on this works. If I was to take a inscription from the shop and put it on, I would look for something that has high stats. Let me give you an example. When I want to reroll this, I've just pulled this out and I go, I like the attack, so I want to keep it, so I'm locking it. The defense is okay, but I want to improve this health. So I would lock those 2, and then I would click transmute. Now I have 10 tries remaining to transmute, okay? It will consume 5 stones. At the top right here, I have 446 stones. Now this is the lottery part. It is RNG. I click it, click off the warning. Oh, and yeah, all the checks and balances. And it has re-rolled it into siege health, okay? I don't want siege health, so I will not replace. The point of this is to show you a couple of things. How to reroll the stats. And then also, if I transmute 9 other times, I'm guaranteed to receive an attribute of the same as these 2 for the one that I'm rerolling, okay? Now, this is something a lot of people don't know. You can view the pity here. Now, we're really going to start getting into the messy bit. I can't highlight it exactly. But if you look at number 4 here, it says that every 10 transmutations, currently 1, so that one I just done, I'm guaranteed to receive an attribute, which will be a minimum roll of 1.5%. It doesn't say that here, but it is, for that troop type. Every 30 times that I reroll, and it says again, currently 1, I will get an attribute of 2.5%, okay? So this is how you view your pity. This is a pity system, so that you don't infinitely reroll your armaments and never get anything and never get anything. If I roll higher than 2.5, say 2.6%, it will reset the pity, and I'll go back to 0 and 0, okay? So that is how the reroll system works. That is how the pity system works. And that is how you're going to fix your armament, like armaments on your commanders. You're going to do this for all of them, right? Because very rarely does something come as a triple stat. Okay, so how do we sorting your armaments? How do we identify what's what? Now, there's 2 windows. This window here gives you a basic ability to sort. You can select a scroll. I want a scroll, and I want it to be legendary and have a common inscription, and then it'll show you all your legendary inscriptions for the scroll that has a common inscription across all of your armaments, okay, all formations. However, if you click recycle on one, right, just to bring up this window has a much better sorting system. So for example, I have just one KVK, I have got a hunter, I want to put it onto wedge formation, I want to put it onto the scroll, right? So now I'm looking at all my wedge formations and scroll. Then I go into this window and I want to get cav stats. This will show me the best cav armaments in order top to bottom. So it's saying here, this is my best cav armament. My second best stat wise is this one, but I can't describe a epic, it can only be legendary. And then my third one is this. Okay, so I'm pretty down bad on cav armaments to put hunters onto. The same applies to everything, right? I've made a mistake here. It was actually flag that I was looking at. I want to put something on a flag. Here is the flag in this armament type that's the same. If I want to look at all the armaments, because you can move them around using conversion stones that we'll talk about, then this one is substantially better, and that would be something that I would consider. Okay, So use this window here to navigate your collection, because as it grows, things will get missing, and you'll be wanting to make sets, and you'll say, I'm making a pincer set, for example, and I have nothing for the emblem slot. So I can look at the emblem, and I want to look at infantry, and I have, oh look here, I have a wedge infantry here that has really nice stats. I can potentially move that. Now I know where it is if I want to move it, okay? So that is the stat part of things. And we've looked at inscriptions. Let's look at the shop, okay? So when you're rerolling stuff, you can click on your courier station and look at the shop here, okay? Now, again, you get these silver coins that I was talking about from the common, and you can buy 2 formation choice chests. You will also be able to buy the Sage's Testimony here. I think it's 20 per week. This resets every Sunday. Blue formation choice chests and transmutation stones, okay? There's not really too much reason to save these coins at this state of the game, so I just buy the formation choice chests. If you are not level 25, you will buy the testimonies. I normally don't buy these, and I buy the transmutation stones whenever I can, because these things are hard to come by, okay? The superior version. The superior version is a bit more complicated. This is how you buy the inscriptions for the flag slot, okay? Every 180 gold coins, you can open the chest. Now, the chest does not give you these are regular inscriptions that you have a chance to get. You can get one of these. You can also get transmutation stones up to 12. You will always get a shard, which is this thing here, the inscription shard. You will always get one of these from the chest for 180, and you will get a random reward on top of it, okay? You need to open 8 of these inscription shard chests to unlock an inscription. Okay, so that is 8 times 180 coins. That's what you need to get. It takes quite a while. Okay, so that is the shop that we talk about. That's how you get the flag. You get the scroll from KVK. So arguably, whenever you get an armament, you don't get a bad one because they can all be recycled, but it still feels bad to be constantly recycling armaments. Okay. So what have we talked about? We've talked about recycling. We've talked about what is an armament. We've talked about the inscriptions. We looked at how to filter them, and I talked briefly about converting them. Now, converting them is a reasonably new feature added to the game. So if you come to your armaments again, and I think I used the wedge, didn't I? No, it was emblem. It was on Richard, wasn't it? It was emblem and it was on wedge. And I wanted to move it to pincer. I used as an example. Yeah, so there it is. I found it. Okay. So we found it before in that window, and I want to move this. I can click here for inscription, and it gives me convert. I can convert to pincer, and as you see here, it wants to be 1 conversion stone, which I have in the top right, and it will convert this armament onto pincer, and that would fill the theoretical gap in my collection that I talked about earlier. Now, things to note here. Everything has different costs, okay? This here, conversions, no inscription or 1 common inscription is 1 coin. A rare inscription, which is the blue, is 3 coins, and a special inscription, which is the legendary one, the gold one, that's 10 coins. If you have 2 inscriptions, it'll require 2 additional stones. So if I have a rare and a common, that would mean it costs 3, 4, 5, 6 stones, if I'm getting that right. I do have one, so we can actually just check that for science. Rare inscription here. Let's see if we move this over and we just pick anything random. 5 coins. Okay, so it's 3 plus 2. Okay, so 5 coins to move that. Conversion stones. These things here. Where are they? I put the filter on so I can't see it. Conversion stones. Oh, I messed up. Right, conversion stones. Let's talk about conversion stones. Conversion stones, the main source is from bundles. And the super value here is a monthly reset, recast and reforge. Again, everybody doesn't buy bundles. Most people don't, in fact. So your next source is in KVK. In your individual rewards, you get conversion stones. 10 per KVK if you hit all your requirements. Okay, 3-2. I've already got 5. 3-2. More down here. So this is where you get these. So every KVK you fight, you're going to get 10. You can see why this would be a stopgap, something that slows you down. So they really need to be used very conservatively. You need to really plan out where you're moving armaments around. You can see here you also get transportation reset crystals, which is something I didn't talk about. So let's actually talk about that right now. When you're re-rolling, so I just showed you how to re-roll an armament, right? When you re-roll, you can see down the bottom it says 10 out of 10 remaining. Okay, once you use all 10 tries, you exhaust the tries to re-roll the armament. So you have to use a reset crystal. So the crystals again are also rare. I only have 16, so I can potentially reset this 16 times. It would give me 160 rerolls before I run out of those crystals. So sometimes you'll run out of reset crystals first. Sometimes you'll get it to 0 and you'll just say, okay, that armament's dead. I'm just going to bin that. That well-clad 3.5% defense is not worth it. Okay. And then sometimes it'll be something that's golden and you will want to reroll it continuously. Keep on putting resets into it until you get something good. Okay. So we talked about rerolling and we talked about the pity system and rerolling. We've talked about resetting. Let's talk about pity system for opening armaments. Okay, so when you're playing the game, you will get armament choice chests, which are just effectively you just open them up and it gives you pick what armament you want, and then you just open up for that armament. Okay, my recommendation is that you open up for the same armament, so it'll be one of your 3 preferred. So if your 3 preferred are Wedge, Pincer, and Delta, you would open up for whatever one has the highest pity. And the pity is, if you come into the commander and we just look at Pincer, okay, down the bottom you will see Wishlist. Okay, now the 1 out of 10 is the pity, and the Wishlist basically means whenever you open armaments for this commander, if you were to ever trigger the special, it would be a special emblem for me, because that's what I have selected. Okay, my recommendation is you probably want to go for the instrument, especially at the start, because it's normally the strongest for each type. It has like the most use. What you don't want is to not pick your wish list, pull an armament, and then randomly get something that you can get from other places, such as KVK or the shop that I just showed you. So your wish list is almost always going to be one of these or that. Okay, now let me explain the wish list. What triggers? So I'm at 1 out of 10. Okay, if you click on the information icon, okay, this is what I was talking about, all the hidden information a lot of people don't know how to check, and you check feature overview. You can scroll down to the bottom and it's telling me here, of the next 146 legendary armaments that I acquire, I'm guaranteed to get a rare or a special. Okay, if I get a special, that would go down to 0 out of 10 and it would give me the Seal of the 9 Cauldrons, okay, the emblem. However, what's very much more likely is I'll get a rare, and a rare would just be a rare inscription that is randomly for one of these 4, and my wish list would go to 2 out of 10. Okay, now I open for Arch formation because my wish list for Arch is 6 out of 10. If you see here on my pity here, at 80 more that I open, I will get either a rare or a special. Now, I believe that the higher the wish list you get, the bigger the chance of a special. I've never had to run the wish list to 10 out of 10. I've had it at 8. I'm hoping to get it before 8 on this again. But again, you could be really unlucky and have to take it to 10. In theory, I would have to get number 7, so like 3 or 4 more full pulls to get this wish list up. And then when I get the wish list, I'll get the emblem. So 4 more times of getting a rare would trigger this wish list, and then on the 10th I would get the special guaranteed on the pity. Okay, so yeah, when you're opening your stuff, you want to be checking when your wish list is, and you want to be opening for whatever has the highest wish list, because as I showed you earlier, you can convert. So if you, for example, Arch is kind of not as relevant anymore, but because my wish list is high, I'm still opening, because when I get that, I can spend 10 conversion stones and move it to wherever I want it to go, which in this case would be to Cav. And then once I move it to Cav, I will move it over to Cav, which would be this set here. It would replace this emblem, and then I would simply re-roll it, as I was saying before, using the same method, using the crystals, the transmutations, and I would be looking for either health and all damage here. I'd be looking for defense here and attack here. At the start, I would just go for 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and then I can refine it in the future and go for higher rolls. That right there is effectively the gameplay loop. You look for the best inscriptions that you can get using the Discord that I've shown you earlier and will provide in the description. You identify these inscriptions using the search here to find either here or in here to find inscriptions that you want. And then once you find the inscription that you want and you have said well clad is an S tier inscription, I'm going to transmute that. You will transmute that and you will put it on to your march, and your collection will grow, and you will recycle the ones you don't need, and you will fill out your march with the ones you do need. And the main things to take away from this video is, if you want to see your pity for a commander, you can click on the commander and look down at the wish list. For line formation, I am at 0 out of 10, and you can check for every formation. If you want to see the armaments that are available, you can go to the codex button down the bottom. It shows you all armaments, everything, and all inscriptions, so you can actually see what's available. If you want to check what you have, you can click on the slot and it will show you on the left all the things you have. You can check if Warcry is good. You can check the rolls, and then you equip your commander with the best stuff that you can find for that commander. If you, for example, pick Herman, and then you go in and you pick Wedge. That was a bad example, sorry about that. Let's pick somebody I never use. Okay, let's go Ramses. If you pick Ramses and you pick Wedge, you click on the scroll, you sort it by the highest archer stats. You can see they two are used, but I have an archer one there. Again, still sorted by highest archers. And then you can just fire on what is your best set, and that's you got an armament set, just a basic one. And once at the start, you can work on that later and improve things, like you would improve the purple. That's really what I wanted to show you, how to check the pities. So you've got the pity for the rare, you have the pity for the special, and then when you transmute, you have the pity for the transmutation for the rerolls, the 1.5 and the 3. So I hope this video helped, guys. One other thing to note is, again, I said at the start, you can buy in the shop. If you come to here, you can buy Sage's Testimonies for 10 gems. You can buy Transmutation Stones for 900, Conversion Stones for 10,000. Don't recommend, but the option's there. It wouldn't be a real overview of the system if I didn't explain that those things were there. So yeah, guys, sorry this is quite a long one. I will put timestamps to try and circumvent that. I hope this helped. I know the system is very complicated, especially for people at the start of the game. Drop me questions if you need. I'm more than happy to ask. I would argue that Armaments is the most complicated system in this game. It is very much a lottery. You can get very lucky or very unlucky, but you just got to keep getting at it, and over time build your collection. Alright guys, so thanks for watching. If you got this far, drop me a subscribe, tell your friends. I'm growing the channel, I'm going to keep this up. I'm enjoying making these videos, so I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Bye.